Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am excited for my conversation today with Gwen Beren. She is the founder of Illuminous Marketing. Way back in 2012, she's been an entrepreneur for quite some time with a vision of helping businesses shine online with SEO, which is search engine optimization, and content marketing services. She is a voracious consumer of all kinds of content, from blogs to podcasts to books, and enjoys learning the latest marketing trends to implement for her clients. Gwen is also a partner with the Click Collective agency, spearheading the marketing team and driving results for clients. Welcome to the show today, Gwen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to share your story. You are one of the smartest. I'm just going to call you wicked smart.
Ooh, I love it. Thank you.
The smartest marketers that I know, and hardworking. Like I'm consistently in awe of you. You are a wife and a mom, and you just juggle everything so elegantly. So
thank you so much. That is like the best compliment you can receive.
Well, there you go. It's well deserved. So let's dive into your background. We'll get into SEO and content marketing and all that good stuff here in a little bit. But tell us, where are you from? Where'd you go to school? And then we'll just kind of ride along your career path, if you will, and then we'll get to your current business.
Sure, absolutely. I am a San Diego native, which is a bit rare. And however, I have lived a lot of different places, from North Carolina to Lake Tahoe when I thought for a season I might be a professional snowboarder, to Savannah when I went to college at Savannah College of Art and Design, and did a brief stint in France from that college. But I always end up back here in San Diego. So this is my hometown, and this is where a lot of my family is and where I intend to stay for the foreseeable future.
Well, it is a lovely place to live.
Indeed, it is.
Good choice.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. When you were at Savannah College, you received a Bachelor of Arts in Photography. What what were you thinking as you graduated? What am I going to do career track wise?
Well, and that is a great question, because I really was into fine art photography. And as most artists know, there is a much different market for fine art photography versus, a commercial photographer. And so upon graduating, actually my last semester in college, I took a website development class within Dreamweaver at the time, if anybody remembers Dreamweaver.
I used to build websites in Dreamweaver. What year-ish was that?
2008.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually, I took a number of years off of school. I started at the local community college here in North County, Palomar College, and got a liberal arts degree and a photography degree there. And then took a few years off of school, and then decided to go back to school to get my bachelor's degree in photography, and with really the intention of pursuing a career in photography. But when I took this last course, in Dreamweaver, it really just spoke to me. I, for some reason, just really liked the coding element of website design. And that was in the very, very, very early days of SEO. And I remember my professor saying, well, here you can put in your keywords in the keyword tag, and me not having any kind of comprehension about what I was doing or how that was going to affect the website performance. But what that really led to once I graduated was I had been doing some freelance photography jobs in the city of Savannah for some of the local companies like the Riverboat Cruise and Travel Host, which is a local travel magazine there. Actually, I think that's a national brand, but I was working specifically with the Savannah chapter, and I got a job as the director of projects at a website development firm there in Savannah. And that really opened my eyes to the world of website development, the world of SEO. That was when I remember that's when I started a Twitter account and a Facebook account and and just
2008 was like around that time. It was like so much was changing. And then we had the economic, crisis
and that is actually the next chapter in my story, which was we had the economic crisis. I got laid off and moved back here to, with my family. And started and bought, I think it was like SEO for Dummies or something like that, and started teaching myself SEO and website development, and through Dreamweaver, again, building everything from literal scratch, and working on my own projects while also then going into a customer support role at a local web development company here. And that was really the key to my biggest growth was that company. I started off as like a part-time support person who just covered lunch breaks for other people, and eventually grew to create the professional services team within that company, where I developed first an SEO program because they were developing websites for chiropractors and veterinarians. But people were starting to understand that they needed to optimize their website in order to actually come up when people were searching for a local chiropractor or local veterinarian. So I developed the professional services team. We developed ultimately a suite of 5 different packages that ranged from social media marketing, video marketing, to what did we do? PPC and then ultimately like a large SEO package. And then I had an opportunity within the organization where the marketing person who had been hired to establish the marketing team really wasn't working out. He was very sales oriented, but not very marketing oriented. And so I was given the opportunity to revamp the marketing team within that organization. I was there for a year in that role as really marketing manager, but really when you're looking at everything that I did there, marketing director role, and brought in just an incredible amount of revenue through our different marketing tactics, built our team up to, I think when I left, it was 7 people. And then I decided to go out on my own and forge my own path. And within 6 months after my leaving, the company was acquired for $42 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did you have any piece of that as an employee?
No, unfortunately, no. Just the gratification that, that I was a part of that growth.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Gwen, was that an easy decision for you at that time to leave? I mean, you were there in total, what, almost 5 years?
5 years. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was, the picture I just painted is a very rosy picture, but the flip side of that coin is 80-hour work weeks, incredible stress, not having time for, that was before I was married and a mom, but just a real focus on, I was really driven to create all of these things and to climb the ladder, but the flip side was no work-life balance, an incredible amount of stress, and that ultimately wasn't sustainable. So There was a certain point, actually, the turning point for me was when I went to a family reunion and a beloved uncle of mine who had terminal cancer asked me, how's everything going? And I told him about my job and said, I'm working about 80 hours a week. Um, but I'm doing these great things. And he said, Gwen, that's no way to live your life. That's not a job. That's no way to live your life.
Yeah.
And when I got back and I remember feeling that sinking feeling, like I knew that, but I wasn't ready to make the change in that one moment. But when I got back to the office, I had been there for 30 minutes when I was told that while I was on vacation, the CEO had made a major change to my marketing plan. We were merging brands from 3 brands into 1 brand, and he just expedited my brand rollover plan that was going to take 12 months. And he was like, no, we're just going to scrap that. And we're just changing everything. And we're just scrapping this entire year plan that I had created. And I just at that moment, first of all, had a total breakdown. Like, I can't believe that a year of my work just got tossed out while I wasn't even here and wasn't even given the courtesy of a discussion. And then I decided, no, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And if I can make these kind of results for somebody else, I can surely do them for myself.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting because we've surveyed our members over the years, and oftentimes what comes out in regards to why somebody left corporate, I mean, work-life balance is certainly part of it. You illustrated that, 80 hours a week. I mean, that's just insane. But where it sounds like what I'm hearing you say, that the kind of straw that broke the camel's back was, just being completely disvalidated, or however you want to say it, just completely
undermined.
Exactly. Undermined. That's perfect. Exactly. And so, it sounds like for you too, and that's what we've seen in some of the surveys we've done is things like what I was, my contribution wasn't valued, or I didn't feel like I was having impact, or things of that nature. Yeah. This is kind of ultimately the reason a lot of folks leave.
Yeah. And it was that, coupled with also, when you return from vacation, a lot of times you should feel rejuvenated and excited and motivated. And it was also more of a dread of like, oh, I have to go back and have to, go through these 80 hours a week and have these like near panic attacks. You know what I mean? It was a moment where I was really looking at my life going, okay, the balance has tipped so far in this other direction, and I'm at a point where I need to bring it back into balance for myself. It was, if I'm not respected for what I really take a lot of pride in, then I need to respect myself enough to bring that balance back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I am so glad you made that decision.
Me too.
So let's get into your business, which you've had for 9 years now. So are you, like me, proudly unemployable, Gwen?
Oh, yes, definitely. Absolutely. And my friends will joke, like, you're such an entrepreneur. You could make a business out of, if somebody has a hangnail, you could be like, I know what you could do for that. And it's true. I'm like, I have a million business ideas all the time. And I mean, I go through, I'm not going to say that there are never periods where I go through it where I'm like, oh, man, maybe I should just look at a corporate job. But then I really look at it and think to myself, could I give up the autonomy that I've created for myself? And then I also weigh against the stress that I went through. I know what the stress will be when I'm in the corporate world, and I am nowhere near that. Even on my most stressful days in my business now, I am nowhere near the stress that I was under as an employee.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've studied this a bit as well. And my theory on it is it's the control. And I know that's not a pretty word, but I'm sure there have been 80-hour weeks in your business, but that was your choice, right? And I think that's the most frustrating thing for a lot of people. And again, it goes back to that impact piece when you're asked to meet a goal, but you don't have either the tools to do it or the right team to do it. Like how frustrating that is to be able to not be able to meet those goals based on things that you don't even control. And where that's what I say as a business owner. I'm like, I make
Yes.
decisions, good or bad.
Right. Yeah. And it also makes, I feel like it makes, failure, quote unquote, if failure is even a real thing,
Yeah.
more palatable
Yeah.
because it's, I made this decision. I can look at it and say, I didn't do this right. I'm going to do it, in a different way moving forward. And it's really given me, it really has given me a different perspective on, failure because it's really not failure. It's just a different opportunity. And it may hurt
Yeah.
and it
Yep.
may sting, but it was my decision. And I can live with that much more than I can live with somebody else's, going down with somebody else's ship.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, let's talk about your business. Talk about some of the types of clients or industries you serve and exactly maybe, like a case study type of
Sure.
thing, exactly what you do for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's definitely shifted over the years, obviously, as any business does. But currently, the areas that I focus most in are in the legal industry, as well as in the it's kind of a nebulous thing. It's kind of the education industry, but
Mm,
from a financial point of view, we have several clients who are in some way, shape, or form involved in college education system, and then we also have. I'm trying to think. We've done a number of what is the term for them? Cloud backup data storage
mm,
type
yeah.
companies.
Yeah.
So we're moving more into the mid-level to enterprise level businesses now. We also have several direct mail clients, which is an interesting supplement
Mm,
to digital marketing. But we have a couple of good ones. And so, for instance, I'll use them as an example. They're a dear client of mine right now. One of the is a local company, Modern Postcard.
mm,
They were one of the pioneers back in the.
wow.
I actually learned about them first when I was in photography school at
Yeah.
Palomar College in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Of just they have the really great skill of being able to print artists' work in a very high quality way when, if they're sending out postcards or promotional pieces or things like that. But of course, they've since in 20 years evolved and they now are focusing on direct mail marketing, but also they're moving into a really interesting digital retargeting space using direct mail,
Mm, interesting.
which is, if you're interested, it's basically postcard retargeting.
Yeah.
So um, one of the things that we're helping them with right now is helping them transition their SEO from their old site into their new site. And it's definitely a phased project and process because they have several sites and several functionalities that they're migrating into one platform that's going to ultimately serve their business needs long term.
Mm,
And so we've been able to help them identify pages that are no longer serving them. As you can imagine, having a history, a backlog of blog posts from 2011 all the way to
yeah.
2021, there's going to be a lot of content there.
Yeah.
So, you don't always have to carry that digital baggage around from website to website. So we've been helping them streamline that and focus on keywords. And they're also changing their business direction to adapt to emerging technologies. So
Mm,
also helping them go through the optimization, the conversion rate optimization process with a partner company that we work with. And making sure that all their SEO is maintained from iteration to iteration. So that's one of the things that we do really well, is making sure that your SEO plan is aligned with your business goals, your ultimate business goals.
Makes sense. Absolutely. And there's so much, right? I mean, it's changing constantly, number one, right? I mean, and it's so multi-layered, and content obviously plays a big part of SEO, right? It's not just that keyword box that you mentioned in
exactly.
Dreamweaver,
That's
right?
not even relevant.
Yeah, exactly. Meta tags and
exactly.
blah, blah, blah. But there's so much that goes into it. What do you see just, even in the last 6 months to a year, any kind of trends or new things that you're seeing and, allowing a company to be better searched, or, I just to make it super basic here, the goal of SEO is to be found easily, right? On primarily Google, since that's, I'm sure Bing has its thing somewhere out there still, but
it does. I mean, how I like to explain the different search engines and why they're sometimes important to people, and I'll keep it very high level and then talk about some trends that I'm seeing, is that with voice technology, and also with the number of voice activated devices and just devices in general that are on the market today, Google does power a lot of those with whether you have an Android phone or a Google Home, or on your computer if you're using the Chrome browser, or if you have a Chromebook, any of those things. But then Bing still does have some skin in the game. I think Alexa may still use some Bing search results they change a lot, and I honestly haven't kept up with what they're doing right now. But then you also have Siri, and Siri looks at Yelp, whereas if you do a local search on your Google phone, then that's going to look at your Google profile. So there are still instances, depending on what your business goals are, where you might need to optimize for all of the different platforms. But I think a recent study came out that showed that between all of Google's properties, 97% of web traffic goes through a Google property in one way, shape, or form. So
wow. That's even, Bing's lost market share since I saw that stat last time. So
exactly. Yeah. It used to be about a 70% to 85%. And Bing had 16, but it's just grown and grown because they keep acquiring different things, but YouTube also is a Google property, so YouTube is factored in there. So when you add all of those things up, it really kind of adds up to 97%.
Wow.
So
all right, good to know.
Google's definitely the big, the elephant in the room. So you gotta please them, even if you don't always agree with everything that they do. But then as far as trends are concerned, the biggest trend that is being driven by Google is really making sure that you're paying attention to both your site load speed, your website load speed, and things that I won't go into because they're extremely technical, but your core web vitals. And basically next month, I believe, Google is rolling out a core web vital update for how they crawl your website. And what they're really looking for is making sure that you're basically providing a good user experience. And site load speed is a big part of that. So that means, just to break it down even further, how long it takes your website to load on both a mobile device and on a desktop computer. So that's not really anything new. Site load speed optimization has been around for a couple of years. However, I still see that as a major piece that is not being considered in website development and in basic marketing plans, that people aren't paying attention enough to how quick can somebody get the information off my website that they need. And with the core web vital update that's coming, they're looking at not only how fast does your site load, but also does the content shift around a lot on the web page as someone's trying to use it? So for instance, if you ever have been on a on a website and you're trying to click on something and something starts jumping around and you accidentally click on the thing you don't mean to, it can create a frustrating user experience. So that's really where they're focusing a lot of their efforts right now is, I mean, their ultimate goal is to please the user. And so they're looking at that.
Always changing. And then the here in California, the disability law, right? So your site has to be
ADA compliant.
Yeah. And that's a big one for a lot of people.
It really is. But there are, especially if you're on a WordPress site, and that's really what my team works in primarily, there's some great plugins out there that you can add to your site that really help you with that and help. One of the compliance things is that you're able to read out the content of the site on a Audible browser so that people who are sight impaired can get the content read to them. And there are free, easy plugins that I don't remember the name of them off the top of my head, but there are easy plugins that you can add that make that happen. We add that now to all of our sites to help our clients with that. But then there are also other things that are, kind of the double win for SEO and ADA compliance, things that have been best practice for a long time, but again, are often overlooked, adding alt tags to your images on your website so that the Audible browsers can read those out.
So the image doesn't read IMG_85942.
Yes, exactly. And you get a little, SEO boost, especially if you're optimizing your products or something, you want to make sure that you're optimizing those images as best you can so that you can come up in image searches. So the ADA compliance piece is very big, and also great for SEO in some ways as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so much to learn.
Yes.
And I think the moral of the story for most business owners is just hire somebody that knows what they're doing. Like completely impossible to keep up with all the changes and all the things. And we didn't even get into social media and all the other aspects of this. So yes, it's well worth the money to get it done right and make sure that, your site is optimized and is ADA compliant and all the things. All the things, yes. So I know that you have a partnership, is that the right word, with the Click Collective? And I know that together you all provide really a full service digital marketing experience for clients. What are some of the things that you're working on, excited about, here in 2021?
That's a great question. Yeah. So my partners and I are really figuring out how to deliver these really comprehensive services. And we came together just because we noticed that people were struggling with the overlap between the different roles that we each have. And so if they're hiring a brand strategist, once they get this beautiful new brand package, they're like, okay, well, now what? So the team is really functioning well together to deliver that really delightful package concierge service to people. But one thing that I'm really excited about in 2021, it's so geeky, but is reporting and analytics. I'm getting really into Data Studio and Google Analytics 4 that has already started to roll out, and you can actually run G4 along with your current analytics implementation. And I was listening to a podcast and I heard someone explain it in this way. So G3, Google Analytics as it is now, was purchased from Urchin, or a company about 12 years ago, I believe. And since then, Google has been building on that foundation. And now G4 is kind of this brand new, shiny thing that's going to give us more insight into user engagement. And the way the person explained it is, it's like if you purchased, like a 67 Mustang and you restored it and it's beautiful and it, it gets you from point A to point B and you really love it and it does the job. But that Mustang is never going to have Bluetooth capabilities. It's never going to have, ABS. It's never going to have it's never going to be an electric car that, maybe if you convert it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So rather than continuing to restore this classic car that was the original Google Analytics, they're reintroducing a Tesla model, essentially, of analytics to adapt to today's market, today's user, today's web experience. And so I highly recommend, if there's a tip that everyone can take away from this today, is, get G4 installed alongside your current analytics. And you can see both of them, both of the data going side by side. So you're not losing anything historically, but you can start to take advantage of new features as they unveil them within G4.
Love it. So exciting. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So exciting for me.
Oh, I love that we have awesome nerds like you in our community.
That'll be my new title, CEO Awesome Nerd.
Awesome Nerd. I love it. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, if our listeners want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can find us online at illuminousmarketing.com, or you can find me on Twitter at IlluminusGwen. So I'm on both of those channels frequently.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Gwen.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.